back to Dylan Rogers Fitness. Like I said in the previous video, we are here today to talk about your daily caloric needs. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get started by calculating your basal metabolic rate, or what you'll hear me refer to as the BMR. That is the amount of calories that your body needs per day to do everything biologically to function. So that means in order to keep breathing, keep your organs going, just keeping you alive without any additional physical activity in your daily regimen. This is how many calories your body burns. So that's what we're going to be calculating first. Okay, it's going to be a long formula, and I've done a lot of research, and I've picked one that I think is the best, and it represents how your body works perfectly. So this is the one I use. A lot of people who in the professional world use this one, so this is one we're going to practice with today. I'm going to preface this video by saying that if you'd like to practice with this calorie counter, I'll put a link in the description so you guys can use that one on your own. However, we are going to walk through it today just so you can have an overview, and if this is where you want to get any information from, it's all here. I'm going to lay it out on the line for you guys, and it's going to be very easy for you to see. Okay, let's get started. The first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to calculate your daily caloric needs by figuring out how many calories you need and then adding in activity level. First thing that you need is to figure out your height and your weight. Since I'm in America, we use feet and inches for height and we use pounds for weight, so that's what we're going with here. If you are in other countries where you're using centimeters for height and kilograms for weight, I'll put it on the screen, my measurements, but you can literally just go to Google or go to any search engine and type in your height and weight in your unit of measurement and then convert it to inches and pounds. It's very easy. Okay, so my height, I'm 188 centimeters, and I am 6'2". That's how those work out. My weight, I am 161 pounds and 73 kilograms. Okay, so now that we've established that, the next step you need is to plug in those numbers into this formula that I'm about to give you here. There are two different formulas, one for male, one for female. Since our bodies burn a different amount of calories, we have to have two different formulas to figure out what our personal intake is. Okay, we'll start with the male one. First, we're going to take your height in inches and we're going to multiply it by 12.7. Alright, once you have that number, you're going to add it to your weight in pounds multiplied by 6.23. Once you've had those two numbers, you're going to subtract it by 6.8 times your age in years. So this is all going to be laid out on the screen. All you have to do is plug in your numbers where they go, calculate them, and you'll be done for your BMR. The last thing before you finish this equation is you have to add 66 onto the end of that string of numbers, and you'll calculate your BMR, or your basal metabolic rate. For females, it's a little bit different. It's going to be height in inches times 4.7 plus weight in pounds times 4.35 and subtracted from your age times 4.7, and then you're going to add on 655. Like I said before, females have just a different daily intake necessity for their body than men do. Alright, after you've gotten that number, again, that is the number of calories that you need to literally function throughout the day. No activity, just live. Alright, now we have to include your activity level in order to understand how many calories you're actually burning throughout your day. There's a couple different levels of activity, ranging from low to little exercise and all the way up to a very strenuous full-time manual labor job. So we'll walk through those. The first one is going to be, like I said before, little to no exercise. So we're going to take your BMR number and you're going to multiply it by 1.2. That's your little to no exercise number. If you're a little bit more active, which is working out light exercise, 1 to 3 days a week, taking your BMR and multiplying it by 1.375. If you're even more active, working out 3 to 5 days a week or playing a light sport, BMR multiplied by 1.55. If you're a strenuous exerciser and you work out 6 to 7 days a week, you're going to multiply your BMR by 1.725. And if you have a very, very physically challenging job, then you're going to be multiplying your BMR by 1.9. By physically challenging and demanding, we're talking about someone who's a construction worker or a manual labor kind of worker and is constantly active, burning a ton of calories throughout the day. I personally am in the 6 to 7 days a week exercising range, where I use the 1.725 for my BMR. So that's it. Once you've multiplied your BMR by your activity level number, then you have calculated the amount of calories that your body needs today or in a day to function. So mine, for example, is in the 3,200 range based off my age and my height. Some people's are not going to be that high. Most people's are going to be between 25 to 3,000 depending on your activity level. Now we're going to talk about how you increase your weight or lose weight based off of your daily caloric intake. So if you imagine that my daily caloric intake is 3,200 roughly, and I want to put on size, I want to put on more muscle, then I'm going to increase my calories between 200 to 500 calories. So I'm going to go up from 3,200 to between 3,400 and 3,700 calories. Now the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to make a gradual change. I don't want it to be too drastic. I don't want to go from 3,200 to 4,200. That's too many. Your body will not react properly and you will just store the calories instead of using them to build muscle. So when you're doing this, you want to move gradually. Same for losing weight, move gradually because your body will adapt to it eventually after a couple weeks and you can increase more. So let's say I increase by 200 calories. So now I'm at 3,400 calories. After 2 weeks, my body will have gotten used to it, so I'm going to increase to 3,600 calories, just a little bit more. And after a couple more weeks, 3 to 4 more weeks, I'm going to increase to 4,000 calories. So I'll just keep gradually going up. Same for dropping or trying to lose weight. All right, the same principle applies, exactly the same for trying to lose weight. If your daily caloric intake is 3,200, just to maintain your activity level, then you're going to drop your calories by 200 to 500 calories. If you drop by 500 calories, you'll be losing about 1 healthy pound of fat per week. If you do more than that initially, like I said, it's going to be kind of a shock and your body will go into starvation mode and it'll try to store your fat. So we don't want to do more than 500 calories initially, and then you slowly increase, or I should say decrease, your calorie count from there. Obviously don't go too low. There gets to a point where you're taking in too little calories and you will feel sluggish and slow and just not energized at all, and then you're getting to a point where you need to add in more calories in order to function properly. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is your distribution of your carbs, your fats, and your proteins in your diet. Now before we start, I just want to say that there is no perfect formula between how many carbs, how many fats, and how many proteins that everybody needs in order to maintain the absolutely perfect diet. It just doesn't happen. There is a pretty accurate formula for you, but it is very specific to you. You have to figure it out. You have to test your ranges of carbs, fats, and proteins and see what works best for you. For example, I'm kind of carb heavy when I'm trying to increase my mass. I load up a lot more on carbs. I feel like that's very effective for me. Some people load up a lot more on proteins, and that helps them get bigger. It's personal to everybody, and it changes. So make sure that you experiment and you play around with it. All right, let's get started on the percentages. Roughly, when you're trying to lose weight, carbs should be around 45 to 65% of your diet. Now remember, when you're losing weight, you're still cutting under the BMR rate that you calculated earlier. So that means if you take that number, your BMR, multiplied by your activity level, the total calorie needs for the day, 45 to 65% of that number should be carbs. When we talk about proteins, it should be 10 to 35% of that number should be protein. And then fats are 20 to 35% of that number should be healthy fats. To gain muscle, it's going to be slightly different. Again, basing off of that one BMR number we calculated, 30 to 60% should be carbs. For protein, should be 25 to 50%. And people can calculate it between 1/2 gram to 1.5 grams of protein per body weight. You can fluctuate in there. And then 10 to 20% of fats. So again, you have to play with it. You have to mess around, adjust, try different things, see what works best for you and what produces the best results. What works best for me won't work best for you necessarily. It might work best for you. However, you have to try it and see. Let's see. I'll give you my personal split for carbs, proteins, and fats. Right now, my carbs are about 50% of my diet. Proteins are about 35%, and fats are 15%. So roughly in there, that should tell you how many carbs of my daily intake, how many protein, how much fat that I'm taking in. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. That wraps up our daily caloric needs video. Please remember to subscribe, rate, comment, share, like everything in this video. I'll be producing more videos for you guys soon. Just a little preview. Our next video is going to be about goal planning, how to measure out your goals for anything that you want in life, and how to achieve them step by step and keep motivated. Alright, so you guys stay tuned for the next video, and thank you very much for watching Dylan Rogers Fitness.